In this video, we're going to take a moment to just finish off the polish for our game. We'll update our title using TextMesh Pro. I'll take you through the process of how to use that, and we'll just put a little bit of flair into our color to try to get it to match our theme. So let's do some polishing of our game. Unity has a lot of goodies that we can find in our package manager. So let's go up to Window and then scroll down and see Package Manager. Click on Package Manager. You'll see the first button here, In Project. These are the things that we currently have in our project. Click on All. It will show you all of the available packages that we can access to add more functionality to Unity. I'm going to look all the way down the bottom here. I can see TextMesh Pro. Click on Install, whatever number it says for you. That should be the latest. Install that. Click on that. Wait for it to work its magic. It'll probably do some importing and some compiling and some just general thinking and grinding behind the scenes. And when it's finished doing that, you will see in Project, you'll see TextMesh Pro. After you have TextMesh Pro installed, close the Packet Manager, head up to Window, scroll down and find TextMesh Pro. Now, if like me, it doesn't exist, it's not there, it's not down the bottom of your window list here, what I had to do just now was close Unity and restart Unity, and there it is, TextMesh Pro. So if you're not finding it there, you might need to do a restart. So if you've got TextMesh Pro, click on the Font Asset Creator. And again, we'll have another set of importing to do. It asks us to import the TMP, TextMesh Pro Essentials. Click on Import. Again, wait for it to work its magic. This is all stuff that's useful, but takes a little bit of time to do, a little bit of time to set up. Once we've done it once on our project, we won't need to do it again. And just to be thorough and complete, we'll import the other examples and extras just in case you want to play around some more with TextMesh Pro. We'll have those imported just so everything, we've got it all. We've got all the things that we have access to at the moment. After that, you can close this TMP importer window. Close that. Now we have the font creator window in front of us. Now the first thing we need to do is create some font. TextMesh Pro needs to take in font and then generate its own font atlas from that. So let's go find a font to use. I've given you a link in the resources to Da Font, and you can search for whatever seems to make sense to you. So I could search for steampunk, for example, because that's what I'm using. I know that when I search for steampunk, I don't get a lot of hits, so I just search for punk. And I've searched this search earlier. After I searched for punk, I found there a whole bunch of them, and I scrolled all the way down the bottom and found this one that's called VTC Fuzzy Punky Slippers. So, you know, font is a very personal thing. Search for what you want, have a look at what you want, see if it works. Try to match it to the theme of your game. That's pretty important, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. One thing I will say is that I'm looking for 100% free fonts. On DaFont, you can see it says 100% free or free for personal use or donationware, or you have to pay for it. For now, I'm just looking for 100% free. Make sure you always know the licensing agreement before you go and put your font into your game. Make sure you're fair to the person who created it and abide by whatever licensing they've asked for. So once you've found your font, click on Download. That will download your font file. Go and find that in the folder where it's downloaded it. For me, it's over here. It will provide a zip file, so we'll unzip that. I'm just right-click dragging and saying extract here. And if you don't have a way of unzipping or you're not sure how to unzip, then that might be a quick Google search for you. How to unzip on whatever particular platform you're using. It's going to be different on Mac, different on Windows. You might have something installed already, so I'm not going to dig into all the different ways to unzip. That might be a Google search. If it's not as easy for you as it was for me, just right-clicking and then having extract here or unzip here as an option. Now that we have our font file, you can see here our VTC Fuzzy Punky Slippers, or whatever your particular font is. I'm going to head back over into Unity, just pop this window out of the way for a moment, and I will find I'll make a new folder actually. This new folder, create folder, I'll call this fonts. Double click on that so I'm within the fonts folder. Jump back to my Windows where I have the font file. I can drag the font into Unity and you can see it sitting there. It knows that it's a font file. Wonderful. Bring back my font creator window here. We can navigate to Window and TextMesh Pro Font Asset Creator if you've happened to misplace it. Here we go. Now I drag in the font that I've found into where it says font source, or I could have clicked the selector as we usually do, and I will leave everything default. Generate font atlas. Again, a little bit more thinking. There's a lot of thinking and thinking, importing, and creation in this process. But once we've got it done, we won't have to do any more of this thinking and creation. It will be done. Okay, there we go. We've created our font atlas. Now we can do a save. It'll ask us where we want it to save. I'm going to save it into fonts just as it is. Save. Wonderful. Now we have a font atlas that is a .asset file that has all of the information in it that TextMesh Pro needs to be able to work its magic. Back over into our canvas, I am going to right-click and create UI TextMesh Pro Text. That will give us a new piece of text. I will just resize my windows a little bit here so I can see it nice and easily. Drag it up over to where we currently say my game name. What have we called my game name here? Title text. I'm going to delete title text. We don't need that anymore. Thank you very much. And our TextMesh Pro text, I'm going to rename that to title text. You are now the champion of title texts. You've ousted the pretender. Here it is. And once again, we can type into the box just in here. We can type in whatever our game is going to be called. For now, I'm still waiting for you guys to let me know what you think my game should be called. For now, I'll call it Steam. No, that's a little bit too obvious. We'll call it Airship. No, I'm going to call it the Injured Pilot. There we go. That was part of what I had in my design document. The Injured Pilot. Why not? It doesn't really tell us anything about the steampunkiness of it, but for now, that shall be my placeholder. A lot of things, when you're making a game, you'll have these titles and you'll have the name of your project. Don't get too attached to it at the start. Wait until you've had people play your game and get a feel for it, and then you can do your name later on. Name's something I find you don't really lock in until the very end. Okay, same with before, we've got our usual kind of font settings in here. We can center align by finding our alignment button. We can align within the middle of the box. I'm going to make a little bit more room on our inspector here so we can see it all. We can select the middle, change the font size. We'll make the font size here, 80? You know what I should do is select the font that we just took all that time to bring into our project. I'm going to drop down our properties down here so it's not in the way. Let's see, where do we find our font? It's right in here, font asset. Click on our button selector. We're looking for VTC, Fuzzy, Punky, Slippers, or whatever your font was that you just brought in. Double click on that, and then you can see a much more interesting font that we've got here. I think, again, it needs to be a little bit larger, so I'll pump mine up to 120. Okay, there we go. I'm not going to finesse too much on camera because you can finesse yours. It doesn't need to look exactly the same as mine, but there we go. We've got some interesting font. You could do the same thing with your text font. I'd recommend not doing the same heading font as you do for your text font. You want to have it a little bit different. This needs to be a lot more readable. This is more sort of for the theme and the style of it. And before we jump off TextMesh Pro, I should just show you a couple of other things in here. There's a whole lot of, if I'm clicked on title text, there's a whole lot of other options in here. So we can change the color of it. So I can change the color to, I don't know, maybe a dark red. I'm going to get to colors in this video in a moment. We can have an outline on our font here and change the thickness of it so it's nice and thick. We can have an underlay, a bevel, lighting, so that lighting will give a little bit of a sheen to it and change where the lighting is coming from, maybe a yellow, and we'll do the light angle over this way. And then what we need to do, which I often forget to do, is click the enable. When you click enable, then that will allow this particular setting to actually be used. And so when you move things around, you might see a little bit of a difference. There we go. Now I'm seeing a little bit of it, not a lot, using this lighting setting with the way that I've got my other things set up. And bump map, we're not going to dig into too much at the moment. Glow is the other thing that I find actually has an impact. So if we click the enable and just scroll in a little bit here, you can see that there is a little bit of this green glow. If I offset it a little bit, then it's moved around. So I'm not really going for something that I think will look good just at the moment. I'm just showing you some of the functionality and how to enable it by clicking on the box and then just twiddling around with the sliders. So this is an introduction to TextMesh Pro as opposed to an intermediate or advanced how do we make our text look award-winning. We're just getting to the point where we know how to use the tool. So there's my font for now. What I need to do next is figure out how I'm going to manage all my colors. So I know, should it have a bright green outline? Probably not. And let's talk about colors a little bit for a moment. First thing I'm going to do is show you where I get some inspiration for colors. So jumping over to the Adobe Color. What's this? The Adobe Color Picker. I call it the Adobe Color Picker. I don't think that's its official name, but Adobe Color CC. I've given you the link for this in the resources, as always. And you can see in here, it shows us some harmonious color relationships. So we've got these 5 colors. As I move the sliders around to kind of get the sort of feel that I'm going for. If we're selected on complementary, it'll show me complementary colors. If I've selected on, say, monochromatic, it'll show me all of a similar kind of color in there as we move this around. And then you can see below is where we capture the information for each of these. What I'm going to do is search for a color scheme, because I'm not much of a color wizard, so I'm going to come up to Explore. You see a search box up here. I'm going to type in steampunk and stand on the shoulders of giants, as they say. And I like this particular theme over here with these colors. I like those colors. So if you click on Edit Copy, you can come in here, see the colors that have been selected, click on a particular one. We're after the hex value. Highlight the hex value, copy that, jump back into Unity. What should we have as that dark green? Maybe we will have our camera background that. So my main camera, click on the background, and down the bottom of our color selector, we have our hexadecimal. Bloink, there we go. We've got a greeny color. And back over into here, what should we have as some of our other colors? Well, I'll go this other different greeny color, grab that, copy, back over into Unity. We'll do that maybe for our heading. Find the story if the title background, well named, thank you, and paste in there for our hex value. And that looks pretty gross, but we haven't changed the color on our heading just yet. So I'm gonna finesse mine a little bit, play around with it. You don't need to see the exact values that I'm using, because I don't want you to try to match mine exactly. I want you to play around with your own colors and do something that you think works. But I'm going to take a couple of minutes to play around with my values. I'd like you to do the same. I've got a challenge for you, which is polish the look of your game. Consider colors, consider your theme. If it's a steampunk theme, you might want to search for steampunk colors, as I've just done. Use TextMesh Pro for at least for the title, also for the main font if you would like, and then any other details you would like. Play around with it, add some flair, add some finesse, and then please, I beg of you, share a screenshot in our Facebook group or our Game Dev TV community site, because I would love to see what you've come up with. I would love to see your creation. So pause the video, jump in, do a bit of finessing with that. When you come back, I'll just briefly show you what I've done, and so you can see the conclusion of my polish. See you in a moment. Okay, welcome back. I've gone for a bit of a brown theme here. I've added these rectangles at the back. I've just called them Story Background Stripe 1 and 2, just to get a little bit of flair back there. Click on the play button to show you full screen, and this is how my game looks. Played around with TextMesh Pro a little bit. So the colors aren't critical. You don't need to copy the colors that I've used. Use whatever colors your heart desires. I'm deliberately not showing them to you to force you to go ahead and pick your own colors and create this the way that you want it to look, rather than just doing a copy and paste of what I have done. So now that we've finished polishing our colors and putting a little bit of detail on our text, that concludes the functionality aspect of this section. So great work. You've made yourself a game engine. It looks pretty good, and you can give this to people to play so they've got a full game experience. Well done. I'll see you in the next video.